Hello and welcome everyone to Tuesday Night TerrorVision. This is episode number 29. I am joined this evening by Mrs. Co-host Trina. How you doing, Trina?
Hi. I don't know if I can say I'm looking forward to doing this review, but I am looking forward to shredding these movies apart. And also, welcome Far From Blake to our channel. It's great to have you with us. And hello to everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, guys. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely, man. Welcome. Yeah, one of your videos just happened across my recommendations feed, and I'm like, oh, he's talking about somebody, reacting to one of his takes from Halloween 4. I'm like, and I'm a huge Halloween 4 fan. I'm like, all right, I got to watch this video now and see exactly what this. And I'm like, okay, like I agree with this. I'm like, we're gonna comment. We're gonna invite this guy on the show, and we're gonna make him watch two of the worst fucking Halloween movies in the entire mythos.
It's a little bit of hazing.
It is.
Yeah. I never thought in a million years this is my first ever live stream thing for YouTube, that my first ever live stream would be on the Rob Zombie Halloween films. But here we are.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. It's it's always fun to get to talk about something like this. And yeah, I say that tongue in cheek. Well, at least with the second one. The first one it's not. The first one is a thing. The first one is definitely a thing. And yeah, we'll get there, but we got to take care of business here first before we get into the reviews, which I watched both these movies back to back today. And
that sounds like a fun chore.
I was hungover, and I'm like, because I had a rough night last night on the stream. A bottle of wine was consumed, a lot of edibles, and yeah, I was like, Jesus, this. I'm like, I gotta watch these movies. I'm like, this is not how I want. I would rather watch like Andy Sedaris hungover, or like Miami Connection or something like that. But no,
You're telling me when you're hungover, you don't want to watch the Rob Zombie Halloween.
No, no. This is like if I was in like Guantanamo Bay, I can see them like torturing me. You know how we did, like, was it Trina? Was it the Cuban Missile Crisis? They played that shitty music on loop. They would make me watch Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 on loop like 24/7.
Yeah.
If I was a Gitmo.
Yeah. Same.
Let me thank the patrons and the channel members.
Savage reaction to mortal fear. Back to survival, no help for humanity. Back in the prime.
And a better Halloween than Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and I never in a million years thought I would fucking say this, but
Evil dies tonight.
I would watch that again before I watched Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie. I destroyed that David Gordon Green trilogy as Cleveland Brown, of course. We did the Stool Band reviews, but yeah, that's all in the Halloween franchise playlist. This is going in there, and then the last piece of the puzzle I've got to do is Trick or Treat, motherfucker, with Busta Rhymes. Resurrection is the last one.
I actually am making a video on that right now on Halloween Resurrection.
Nice. That's my very last one I have to cover. I'm like, I'm glad we did these before that.
Go out with a bang.
Yes, I'll go out with that. I can live with that denouement to the franchise.
I will say, so I know we're going to be talking to Rob Zombie films, but I see you don't like Halloween Kills, and I will say that I am a Halloween Kills defender.
Okay.
So we can get into a little of that if we want, but at some point. But I just wanted to chime in that I do like Evil Dies Tonight.
Okay. Absolutely. Wait, what about Halloween Ends? I gotta know.
No, I absolutely
Thank God.
No, that's why I draw the fucking line. That's it.
That's the one. That's the bottom of the barrel for me. I absolutely hate that one. I've never been more visibly mad about a movie than Halloween Ends. When I was sitting in the theater watching that, I was like smiling midway through, like just in disbelief. I was like, "Are you guys seeing this right now?" I was like, I was so mad, and I only watched it the one time when it came out in theaters originally until just this past month. I decided to finally watch it again, but I knew I hated it that much. I was like, I don't care to watch it again, but I wanted to watch it again so I could make another video on it to see if anything's changed at all. Because the weird thing about Halloween Ends compared to a lot of, I mean, I guess there's a lot of cult followings in Halloween, but Halloween Ends has a weird cult following where some people really, really defend it. And it drives me nuts. And I just don't get why. So I went in with an open mind. I'm like, okay, I hear for the last 2 years on YouTube what people like about it. So I'm like, let me see from their lens. And I don't care. I don't care if they think, oh, it's your unique, different perspective, and we're going kind of the Halloween 3 angle. What? No, to me, what they do to Michael Myers in that movie is so disrespectful, and what Corey does to him, and I mean, it's a train wreck. I hate it. I can't stand it. I might have hated it just as much or worse the second time. So nothing's changing on that.
I have not watched that one since I reviewed it.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't sit through. That's like asking me to watch The Last Jedi again.
Yeah,
like that was one I was in the theater, like that. I felt my fist clenching within like 5 minutes of that movie starting when they started making jokes. I'm sitting there, and one of my coworkers like, "Oh, the movies, man. I know you're a Star Wars fan." I'm like, "Man, I skipped The Force Awakens, and I heard nothing but bad things about that. I ain't going to see this one." No, come on. I'll buy you time. All right, man. Trina, our people are notoriously frugal, aren't they? Hey! So I went because he bought my ticket, and yeah, I'm sitting there just like, it's like that Arthur meme. We see that fist clench. That was me. I'm just looking at him like, I'm lucky you drove. You're lucky you drove. I'd be, and then we're leaving. He's like, this was great. I'm like,
what
the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I knew I was high, but damn, did you do something I didn't? Like, shit, bro. And then, like, I remember, like, going to the Rise because, like, my mom wasn't doing well back in 2019. So she took me to see the fucking Return of the Jedi in 83. So I'm like, we'll go see Rise of Skywalker. It's probably the last fucking movie released in theaters while you're alive. So we took her to see that, right? And we get there, and I remember just getting angry. And at one point, it was I can't remember what it was, but I just audibly out loud was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, and I had like somebody turn around, look, I'm like, "Are you watching the same movie?" Nobody said shit to me. I'm just like, nah.
I was like, are you guys with me or what? This sucks.
I was like, my mom's like, "Oh my God, my 39-year-old son is yelling at a Star Wars movie." I'm like, "It's fucking garbage, Ma."
I know.
Don't you understand?
No, yeah, it's fuck, but yeah,
that's exactly how I felt watching Halloween Ends. I was so pissed. The minute the movie ended, I was like, I looked over. I went with my two cousins. I looked at them like, that sucked. I'm like, are you kidding me? And nicely, when I did go in theaters, I don't know if you guys had that reaction, but there was a few people in my theaters, and I don't know if I've ever had this experience before. You had people cheer and clap, but people in my theater were booing after the movie, like legitimately booing, which that made me feel better because I was like, all right, cool. At least the people who I'm seeing it with right now feel the same way. Because I was like, that was crazy. I can't believe they did that.
I know. Oh man. Because my husband and I went to see it in the theater as well, and after we're driving home, and I'm raging in the car, and I'm like, I can't believe they did that. You cannot kill Michael Myers. What are they thinking? This is an insult to all the fans. Like, I was okay, because what started my love of horror was 1978's Halloween, and so I was just like, I cannot believe they just did this. Like this. Yeah. I got PTSD from that movie.
I still can't believe it. That's why I said, like, when I rewatched it the second time, I'm like, how does this exist? Who greenlit this? Especially, like I said, it's not just that it's crazy in itself. The closing chapter of a trilogy, bringing Jamie Lee Curtis back after 40 years. Yeah, this is what you do. I mean, come on.
Yep. Between that and all the other shit in the plot, like they had the sheriff character, the black dude in the cowboy hat. It's like, man, this guy looks kind of like what's his story?
Cool in 2018, yeah.
And you got nothing from him. It's like he shows up, he's like, damn, this is a bad scene, and then he's gone. It's like, like Sheriff Brackett was like everywhere. He was he's a main kid. God rest his soul. Charles, Jesus, what's his name? Charles.
I'm gonna have to go to Google for that
Fuck.
one. I forget right now.
It should be in
he
my.
just passed away. Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna, as soon as I hear, I'm gonna be like, oh, really? I knew that. But no, he. Oh shit.
I'm
No,
looking it up right now. For you.
They really botched that. They botched so many.
Charles Cyphers.
Charles Cyphers. Damn it, Jim. I'm a doctor, not a pool man. Charles Cyphers. Yeah. But let's we'll get into this review after we got to pause 14 seconds for a word from our channel sponsor.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Have you or loved one been wronged by shitty wrestling? Call Yikes and Oof Attorneys at Law. 1-800-976-6299. That's Yikes and Oof Attorneys at Law.
And if you don't want to watch shitty wrestling, you can start following Super Shogun Pro Wrestling on YouTube. That's where yours truly will be making his in-ring re-debut, because I've been out for 7 years and I'll be back come January 14th. So yeah, that's folks. And I'll shoot some footage tomorrow night at camp, and we'll play that during the member stream after I come home and put Icy Hot on, because I'm fucking 44 years old now, and it hurts a little more than it did when I was in my 30s and 20s. So, but yeah, we'll be doing that in Trina. There's another $100 in the can I owe you now.
I'm getting rich off these.
God damn it, Trina. There's an angry wall of text from Trina because I mentioned wrestling 4 times. Shit. All right. But here we go. This is how we start Rob Zombie's Halloween 2007. So we started with a Dr. Loomis quote on screen, and I'm like, I remember because I went to this one. I went to see in the theater. I did not go to see the second one in the theater after the first one. I waited for it to come out on video, and I'm like, all right, Dr. Loomis quote. And, I'd seen the trailers and everything, and you read the casting stuff, and it's like Malcolm McDowell, which dude is fucking amazing. Like,
oh yeah,
amazing actor. Yeah. I'm like, Donald Pleasance's shoes, though. I mean, that is an insurmountable task to replace that man. You can't. I don't care. You can't do it.
No.
Nope. Yeah, Dr. Loomis, to me, he is like, don't get me wrong, Laurie Strode is a great character, but I feel like Dr. Loomis, what he does, and especially not just the first movie, but that first 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
1 through 6, he's such an integral part, and I feel like that's what's missing from the franchise. Even though I like H2O and I like a couple other sequels, but Dr. Loomis, Samuel, what's his name again? I'm drawing a blank right now. Samuel
Loomis? What are you talking about?
Donald Pleasance.
Donald Pleasance. Oh my
okay.
gosh, that's so bad. I was like, that's so bad. Yeah, right. Donald Pleasance. I know Donald Pleasance. Donald Pleasance, what he does in that role is so integral, and like it really is the heartbeat, especially in that first movie. He gives the lines, the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. Without the lines that he gives in that first movie, and a lot of them, I mean, you can't replace that. So you're right. And that's the one thing that I think that they're missing in the Halloween franchise. And I don't know how they'll ever replace what he gave us.
No, you can't. You can't. And like I said, Malcolm McDowell, man, probably still one of his most brilliant roles is A Clockwork Orange. Fucking guy is just obviously how far his career has come since then, but that movie that's something altogether. That's one we need to cover, Trina. We need to cover A Clockwork Orange.
I actually haven't seen that one. That's one that's been on my list for a while. I think my cousin's seen that one and said it's really good.
I watched it years ago. What my mother-in-law has like a 4x5 poster of it in her living room framed. The fucking the movie poster is fucking wicked.
The poster's in my head. I've seen the poster a million times. I'm like, that seems cool. I'm gonna have to see it one day.
But so we begin in Haddonfield on October 31st, and our setting is an obvious Rob Zombie. Now, I'll let me say this. I've seen Rob Zombie in concert 3 fucking times. I don't care what anybody says. I love motherfucker's music, and he puts on a badass stage show. For my money, it didn't get better than when he opened up he was second act for Disturbed down in Van Andel, and he came out, and the first song he did was Everybody's Fucking in a UFO, and he's got this big ass fucking robot walking around the stage, and I love that song. I was like, if I could get away with it, I'd use that for my walkout music, but that's not too family friendly, so I can't use that. But no, so we get introduced to young Michael Myers, and he's playing with his pet rat Elvis, and young Michael Myers is played by Dag. I'm going to slaughter this pronunciation. I believe he's, what is this? Ferch. He's got to be like Nordic of some of that region with the name Dag. It's Deaeg. His last name is Faerch. I'm gonna slaughter it pronouncing it. So
yeah, I tried to figure it. I can't.
Apologies to the young man.
Yeah,
but and then we get the title card. And let's see what's for breakfast, shall we? Because we go to the kitchen in this lovely 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom den of inequity, and we meet Mommy Deborah Myers, of course, played by Sherry Moon Zombie, and Ronnie White, her fucking boyfriend, who's played brilliantly by William Forsythe. My God.
What a scene.
And yeah, this
cinema.
This is, she tells Ronnie she's got to work tonight, and somebody's, well, you know what? Here, we'll just.
Somebody around here's got to make some money.
I'm all broken up here, bitch. I can't work.
Yeah, and whose fault is that?
Fuck
Oh my God, you're pathetic.
I'm all broken up over here, bitch. I can't work. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, when they opened up with that scene, I'm like, wow, I need to sit back and just really absorb this and take this all in, because the dialogue here is just phenomenal.
This is so Devil's Rejects just recycled into this scene. Like it is, and this movie, I said this, has a fucking amazing cast. I don't care how bad the writing and the story is. Both movies, this one more so than the second one. The second one has some good cameos too, but this one, if you look at even the small roles, which we'll get to here, has a fucking awesome cast. Actors that you'll see them and you're like, I've seen that guy or that girl in this and this, and they always play like a secondary character. And it just, I love picking up things like that. And that was one thing I did enjoy with the first one, was watching the cast. And because I haven't seen this, and I've avoided watching this for fucking years. I haven't seen either of these. So
when was the last time you watched either of these?
I can't remember. I know it was a long time for me.
At least a half a decade, if not longer.
Yeah.
See, I rewatched the entire franchise probably about 4 years ago, and then my love for horror has just been like rewatch. But this franchise in general, Rob Zombie 2, I don't think I rewatched since 2 years ago. That was the only one I left off because I absolutely hated it when it came out, and haven't touched it since until this weekend, either of those two. So really, I've only watched them twice in the past couple of years since the release date when it came out back in 2007 and 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
So pretty out of the rest of the franchise, I rewatch all the time. These two, hardly touch. Like,
oh, dude, I watched, because I did reviews of part 3, part 2, part 3, and H2O this year. And I did single release videos that all the videos took like a week to do. But I love Halloween 3. Fuck, I watched that movie like 8 times this year. I am absolutely just, that is such a good movie.
I need to rewatch Halloween 3. I'm one of those people that grew up as a kid, you know, the stupid, like, oh, I'm not watching it. Michael Myers ain't in it, blah, blah. I watched it a few years ago. I did like it, but I haven't had the urge to rewatch it. I did have the urge to watch it this October. Like, I had it set in my mind. You were watching it this October because so many people like yourself, like, they put it really high in their rankings. I see a lot of people that put it 1, 2, 3, 4. The people that like it really do love it. So
it's got a cult following
for sure.
It absolutely does.
So that's why I need to see it again. But I don't know, other October priorities and whatever, it got shelved. But maybe after this discussion.
There you go.
I will. Thank you. try to watch it soon because I don't think I should wait till another October. As
No,
long
it's
as it's
worth
free
it.
on Peacock, I need to rewatch it because
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
tired of feeling like I mean, I did see it, but I don't feel like I have enough input to really have like a strong stance on it.
It's funny. That's my son is 9 and he watches all these with me, and he didn't watch these 2 today. I won't. I'm like, you don't need to watch.
Yeah, no.
But he's watched all the other ones with me, and he fucking loves Halloween 3. He's got the Silver Shamrock poster in his room. We all have like Silver Shamrock shirts. I've got the green Santa Mira beanie and shit like that. Like I'm kind of a like, I got my Jason Voorhees ring. I got a Jason Voorhees necklace. I'm getting a fucking pinhead tattoo all down my arm.
Jason Voorhees on my cell phone.
Yes. See, that's the fucking goods. All right, we got to get back to this goddamn movie. Okay.
Right, Rob Zombie won.
Yep, Rob Zombie won. So we're at the breakfast table here, and they're screaming at each other, and you're pathetic. This is the thing. The baby is just sitting right there while they're screaming at each other, and I was like, this is a very happy, well-adjusted child in an environment that they can thrive in, and Ronnie then decides to deploy a tactic that's ill-advised after he says this gem.
Good, we'll have a good fucking time.
I will.
I hope she likes cripples.
Bitch, I will crawl over there and I will skull fuck the shit out of you.
Oh, I'll get the crutches for you.
Because he said he was gonna go down to the bingo hall and blow his nut all over the waitress's flappy pancake titties. And another. This has got to win an Oscar for this fucking screenwriting. The dialogue in this is just.
It's like, if this came out the same year as Oppenheimer did, I think Oppenheimer, Cillian Murphy would have been in trouble here. So. And
then the daughter, I didn't show this, but the daughter comes in, Judith, and she's of course dressed like a little hussy, and the disgusting fucking busted to shit broke ass boyfriend.
He likes what he sees.
He's very interested, and he's like flirting with her. And she walks away to get Michael from his room because mom's like, go get Michael. And she's like, why do I always have to do it? And then he says this.
Man, that bitch got herself a nice little dumper.
What did you just say?
You heard me.
Say it again, Ronnie. Say it to my face.
Oh, what's the matter? You jealous of your own daughter's ass, huh?
Pig.
And then he knocks everything off the table, goes, fucking clean it up. It's like.
I will say that you guys wanted me to watch this for this review and this and that. I've never wanted to touch either of these movies for a while. I kind of had my mind set that, like, they are what they are. And, I like a lot of Halloween movies that are considered bad, but they still feel like Halloween movies. These don't feel like that way to me, especially with this dialogue. But I will say this opening scene and the way the movie was and just my disbelief, I'm like, great, I really have to watch this again. When I was watching the scene, I was dying laughing because I was just like, if you treat it like a comedy, you kind of can have fun with it.
I want to take and edit the Benny Hill music over these scenes I've clipped. I mean, yeah, it would. It's so like it is. It's funny.
It's ridiculous.
You're looking at it, and it's like, as a Halloween movie, this is absolute utter dog shit. Because Michael Myers' family lived in like a middle class suburb in an average home. It wasn't a Victorian mansion, as Part 5 would have you believe, and it sure as fuck wasn't this gutter puke fucking trailer trash ass fucking Clampett looking fucking house with just shit everywhere. It's like, what the fuck? And this is just straight up Rob Zombie not knowing anything but that white trash aesthetic, because that's all he does in every single movie. I can't say that because I haven't seen like Lords of Salem or there's a couple more that I'm like, I'm not even like, I never watched 3 from Hell either. But so what does he say? Then he starts mocking the baby. He's like, wah, wah, all that thing does is cry and shit. I'm like,
it's a baby.
And there are people like this. This is a sad thing.
No,
like,
that's
this is fucking like, come on.
They exist.
Oh God.
Okay, so Rob Zombie is very much portraying the town that he is originally from, Haverhill, Massachusetts, the white trash that you have in that town, this is what you see. This is he's showing us what he really like grew up around, what he saw. Like, this is real garbage that he saw. This and he absolutely like takes this and made it like this is his aesthetic. I can't stand it. I really I cannot tell you how much I hate it.
It's bad. It's fucking bad. So we get Judith goes up to get Michael, who we see at the sink is cleaning blood off his little pocket knife, and he's obviously killed his rat Elvis. And she tells him to quit jerking off and come downstairs. And this is when he's like, I'm not listening. And starts screaming. And I made a note here. I said, this is an odd choice with Michael from the word go. And although we never saw Myers Young pre-murder in 78, I said, we're treated to the full-on character development that leads to his killings. And I said, just based on the first 4 minutes of the movie, you can clearly see the environmental actors that play into the buildup of his crime. And they discuss that later on. Loomis does about the environmental factors, the internal factors.
And that's the problem with it, though, because the thing with Michael Myers is he's supposed to be pure evil.
Yep.
And we're diving into explaining these things. And I get it. It's a remake, so you want to try something new and different, but I don't think he went the right route in explaining that. And I know we're only in the opening scene. I do like the idea of exploring, the mental asylum part. I think that idea is a good idea. Execute it was not great, but all this stuff, resorted his family as, like you said, white trailer trash, all this different stuff. When you compare it with the original, like I said, nice suburban family, it's just you're making, a house of 1,000 corpses. It's a Halloween. And it's like, why? It doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Frustrating. It's really just so frustrating to watch his take on it and just watch it play out on screen. It's so hard to watch. It really is. The second one,
you know what? I'm gonna watch it again after this. I like it.
I don't get it. There are people that like these movies, and I don't understand. Like the second movie, I know we're not there yet, but I just want to mention, like, I had such a hard time getting through it today to write down my notes for the review. It took me about, I don't know, maybe 4.5 hours because I had to keep taking breaks because I was like, this is awful. I can't believe I'm watching this garbage. But here we are.
So I don't know if you guys are going to get into that or not, or if you guys want to talk about it now. Do you like the first one more than the second one, or what's your guys' take on that?
Yeah, if you have to pick out of these two, which one you like better, I'm gonna have to go with the first one.
I always said 1, 2 because it has, at least the final act gets into a little bit more of the Michael Myers stuff. Yep. But I think that both 1 and 2 are both so ridiculous with the Rob Zombie stuff. I'm starting to not appreciate Rob Zombie 2, but when I rewatched it, I liked that it was unique and different, and it was going for his own thing. Where Rob Zombie 1 was kind of, I can't say verbatim just like the original because it's definitely not. It was just sprinkled on with all this, garbage dialogue, and then kind of going beat by beat in the final act, at least copying. Where Rob Zombie 2, it's like you don't really know what's going to happen, and I like that they kind of dive into the trauma of Laurie and this and that. Granted, like I said, execution not really there, but I thought it was so wacky and crazy now watching it that I had a little bit more fun with it and more appreciation. Where back in the day when I saw it as a kid, I saw the white horse thing. I was going, all right, this is so stupid. But now I'm like, listen, I'm not saying it's good.
Yeah.
I still rate it very bad.
Yeah.
But it has a little bit more uniqueness going for it. And I'm like, I can go either way.
I can give it that. It does have the uniqueness, but it just doesn't fit. It's like it was kind of like Josh Trank with Fan Four Stick. Like he took the Fantastic Four and tried to make it like a sequel to that Chronicle movie. Like he completely switched Doctor Doom's fucking backstory, and they just did it. Just the director takes and they put too many of their fingerprints on it. In this case, Zombie wrote and directed it, so it's like it's double the fucking impact.
Yeah.
So you can really like see. And he didn't want to make the second one famously, but they threw the bag at him, and he grabbed it and ran with it and said, okay,
well, I'm gonna do what I want.
And I think that's why he didn't purposely tank it, but he made exactly what he wanted to make it, which is a Rob Zombie movie, not a Halloween movie.
Yeah.
And he made it so there's no way on God's green earth they would ever make a sequel to it.
Yeah, definitely not.
And there's no way they could. I mean, they kind of left it with like a more adult version of Jamie Lloyd from Part 4, with the Lori. But we'll get there. So Ronnie tells Deborah that little freak of yours needs some serious discipline. He runs around here like a little bitch. And I said, honestly, I'm inclined to agree with Ronnie on this one. That kid is the worst. Ronnie says he's probably a queer who's going to chop off his dick and balls and change his name to Michelle.
We're still in the first 10 minutes, right?
We're still in the first 10 minutes of the movie. And then he smacks Michael's mask off and even pinches him at one point. I'm like, what a fucking dick. Like, I understand, like, if you don't like the kid, but like literally physically bullying him, like, and you're basically a fucking cripple right now, dude. You better realize that might come back to bite you in the ass. They exchange the I hate yous, and Ronnie threatens him, saying as soon as his hand heals, he's gonna break it again on your fucking face. And again, this is a very stable, loving, supportive household that any aspiring serial killer could thrive in.
Yep.
Great movie.
Yeah. And Judith then asks Michael if he stroked his rat Elvis to death, and she's simulating a fucking hand job. When he flushed the rat down the toilet.
Yeah, after killing it.
That's not a red flag. Like, why don't you flush it down the toilet, bud?
But you know what? That part of so what Rob Zombie did there is the only part that he did with Michael that actually makes sense, because in Halloween 78, Michael strangles the dog. And then you remember when they get to the Myers house, there was a dog dead in the house. So he did kill animals.
That is true.
I think that's the only thing that Rob Zombie got right about Michael Myers.
I was gonna bring that up too. When we got to the principal scene, which we're there next. And I really like this because I had to do a double take because I kind of made notes in here, the cast. And Richard Lynch plays Principal Chambers. And I don't know, Trina, if you remember the name Richard Lynch from a movie we reviewed called Bad Dreams from 1988. Richard Lynch was the cult leader in that. He's on all of our thumbnails. Let's see, right? I think he's down here in the lower right if you're facing the screen, right by Blake, right there. He's reaching out to him, asking him to join his cult. He was. That's not a great movie. Bad Dreams. It was way worse than I remembered. But Richard Lynch is fucking awesome in that because the dude's just a trip. So he's the principal in this. And Michael's at school and he's in the bathroom and he's in the stall and these two boys come in and they're talking about. One was like, "Oh, I almost fought this guy," and then Michael comes out, and they kind of start picking on him. And let's see, do we have that one here? Do I have the bathroom scene? Yes, right here. This kind of happens because they're talk shit to him about. First, they call out his mom or his sister, and then his mom for being a stripper.
I heard your sister got caught selling blowjobs in the bathroom. I heard they had to pump the cum out of her stomach.
This fucking, I remember seeing this movie going like, I want to punch this kid in the fucking face. Like, oh my God. Like, and yeah, his mom, he has the flyer for the Rabbit in Red, which is the strip club that goes back to the 78 one from the matchbook. And that was all what it came from. The whole thing was from that matchbook. And yeah, so he's got the flyer. He's like, you think your mom would shove her tits in my face, Mike? Yeah, I heard. What did she say? My dad said something. Like his dad's been down there. It's like, yeah, your dad's probably our number one customer, bud.
Yeah, again, it's just tremendous writing and dialogue written by Rob Zombie, where he said, you watch the original Halloween and all the dialogue there, we're just like, we're going to throw it all in the trash and we're going to give you this.
Yep.
Pure gold.
Yeah, well thought out dialogue. Nah. We were well thought out dialogue. Where we're going, we don't need well thought out dialogue.
We're just going to have kids saying out of pocket stuff the entire time to other kids, grandpas or dads, whatever, stepdads, screaming at babies and cursing at them. That's how we're going to open up this movie.
And this is one thing about Rob Zombie's movies. They're loud.
Yes.
It's almost like a Christopher Nolan movie. Like Nolan's movies are like, they're just like, what was that one with the sparkly vampire dude?
Tenet.
That was like, I've only watched part of that, and I'm like, it was just loud, like the entire movie.
You couldn't even hear what they were saying in the movie.
No. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, do I have to put subtitles on for this?
Yeah.
But like Rob Zombies, you have no problem hearing it.
Oh, you can hear him.
You're hearing everything.
There's no score. It's all just strong dialogue.
Yeah. Yeah, Deborah, she's a stripper, and they're taunting Michael, and then they get into a big fight. And I said, all of the dialogue sounds like the multiple personalities in Rob Zombie's head bleeding into the characters, because I imagine this is the only way he knows how to speak.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, for real.
This is like his only, everything is like fuck and bitch and cunt, and that's basically Rob Zombie's entire like repertoire. That's the baseline right there, and he builds from those three tenets of his mastery of the lexicon, as it were.
You would think that, like, I don't understand this. Rob Zombie is he's a musician. He writes his own music. He takes a lot of inspiration from other horror movies. You would think that he would have a much better dialogue and know how to write a much better script than he does. I don't get this.
No. Honestly, like this writing that he employed in this movie, it worked in House of a Thousand Corpses. It worked in The Devil's Rejects. It does not fit in the Halloween world. If you have one character that is like a stereotype of this manner, then it would work. If it's one or two characters, they're a couple, or there's just whatever the case may be. But you can't make every single fucking character a like just this stereotype. It just does not work. It comes across as contrived as fuck.
Yeah. And it's tedious. It's tedious to watch and listen to.
Yes, you're like, oh my God, please stop.
And that's why, like, I don't want to rewatch these movies. It's just you just know what you're going into hearing that dialogue. There's other movies that might be bad that you can have fun with because they don't have that, at least. You know what I mean? There's not like just pouring down your eardrums, screaming and cursing of like I said, just ridiculous out of pocket stuff.
It's flawless movie. God damn you, Gap. God damn you.
Trolling.
This guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. Let's see. So the boys attack Michael, and then Principal Chambers. I almost said Superintendent Chalmers. Skinner. Richard Lynch comes in, and he breaks it up and tells Michael to go. Michael tells the principal to go fuck himself, and he's taken to the office. And Deborah, mom, is called in, and she initially argues with the principal and asks if he can't control his school. And then we got Dr. Loomis in that great scene of him walking down the hall when I feel like the Staying Alive by the Bee Gees should have been playing. Like, well, you can tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a ladies' man, no time to talk. Like that
Why did that way Etep do it?
That was I can re-edit that.
That would have elevated the scene and
yes,
made the movie at least a half a star better. So
right. Like I would have given it an extra point for that. Absolutely. But so McDowell comes in and initially she's resistant because he says he's a therapist, and it's like, wait, what? Oh shit, Juggalo in the chat. Whoop whoop. Fuck yeah. I was my kid asked me, I picked him up from school today. First song he wanted to listen to was Boogie Woogie Woo. I'm like, okay, we can do that, buddy. We can do that. I should have never like I said, I think I've mentioned this. My wife is related to Shaggy Two Dope though, so that's like Juggalo's kind of family. But so that let's see where we at. So Malcolm McDowell, obviously Samuel Loomis. They pull a dead fucking cat in a plastic bag out of his backpack. And she's like, it's just a cat. I'm like, your son has a dead cat in a Ziploc bag in his backpack. What the fuck is wrong with you?
yeah, I vividly remembered now that part. And you like you said, she's like, it's just a cat. What's the big deal? What do you mean it's a big deal? Even if he didn't do it, right? If your son has a dead cat in his book bag at school?
So many questions.
Yeah.
So many questions. Like, come on. How are you defending that?
Yeah.
Nobody in the right mind would.
And then he's like, oh, wait. And he's like, it's like that. But wait, there's more. And here we go with the fucking stack of Polaroids. They're just animal. And she's like, you can see her shit. Like, oh, fuck. I think my kid's a fucking serial killer in training. Like, she's like, oh. And there's dogs. They make a point to show there's dogs, too.
Mhm.
So it's like, yeah, what you were talking about with that.
It's because it was a cat, but now that it's a dog, it's serious.
Yeah, right? He's like, oh, shit. I'm like, hey, man, nobody fuck with them cats. Hey, goddamn Haitians, leave them cats alone. I'm just kidding, Haitians. I'm just kidding. I love you guys. I love you. Please leave my cats alone, though.
The real dead cat in the book bag wasn't enough. She needed to see photographs of dead dogs.
Yeah.
I know.
It's like there's a body right in front of you. I still don't believe he's the killer. Here's pictures of other dead bodies.
It's like, oh, now I get it.
Oh no. The fucking so they're like, well, we're gonna, start talking about treating him in therapy. I love those. She's like, Michael wouldn't have done this. He loves animals. Like, yeah, how many rats did you buy him?
Yeah, how many rats and how many of them have died? It's like,
yeah. And Loomis tells her, he explains to her that causing harm to small creatures is often an early warning sign of larger problems. And then we get the Halloween theme. The original theme starts playing. And
like,
Michael, I liked that. I'm like, it kicked in. It was perfect editing.
At least we got it.
Yep. And he slips out of the school, grabs his mask from his locker, and over this, Loomis is explaining they want to evaluate Michael. And I said he clearly has a disturbed mind. And the boys that were bullying him at this point, you see them leaving school, and Dickhead grabs this smaller kid's hat and spits in it, and then fucking throws it back at him.
Just typical 90s bullies.
Yep.
Like teen movies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Give me your lunch money, punk.
Yeah. I was waiting for 3 o'clock high and Buddy Revell. Trina, please get that reference.
I didn't watch much TV in the 90s.
It was a movie. I think that was from the 80s though. 3 o'clock high.
3 o'clock high. Yeah.
Okay. I think that movie's fucking fantastic. And the guy that played Buddy Revell is actually a pastor now, which is crazy. He quit acting and became a minister or something. That's the only movie I can remember that guy from, and I can't think of his name. But anyway, so they're leaving school. And they're talking about egging some other kid's house. And douchebag is walking through the woods, and we see Michael follow him. And then this meme happened. And he fucking, I can't even lie. I'm just like, I was like Drago and Rocky. I was like, if he dies, he dies.
I know.
Fuck this kid.
Yep. And that's actually a problem because you're not supposed to have sympathy for Michael Myers.
Nope. Nope. And that's bad writing.
Yep.
That's bad writing. It's not no, that's No,
Yeah,
I'm supposed to want that kid to live. Like, and that was like in Megan, Trina. Remember when Megan threw that kid after she ripped his ear off?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
I was just like, fuck this kid. Like,
I
I
know.
was like, fuck this kid. Like, he's a dick
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
You know, I was the same way with this one. I'm like, beat him to death, Mikey. Beat him to fucking death. Like, fuck this kid.
I think when I saw it back in the day, I felt somewhat bad, I think. I don't really know. Now I'm kind of indifferent. I would say the brutality, like when he starts begging, I guess that's
Yeah.
where I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's a little far because it's a kid. But, you know, either way, it's not like you really care about these characters that much.
No.
Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Oh,
It's-
no.
exactly.
No,
It's
it's hard
like-
to have sympathy for any of them.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly like that's also a problem is you don't care about any of these other characters. Like, I'm not really sure because so he wanted us to feel bad for Michael, but the other cast we don't care about either. So it's kind of a fail all around.
Yeah, 100%. And
Yep.
I don't know. To me, it just pulls back down to like making Michael Myers the bullied kid, and that's the justification for why he turns into who he is. And that's the part where I'm like, even the scene, like I'm just like, I don't like any of it. You know what I mean?
It was like it was always ambiguous. He was just this little normal suburban kid who snapped and stabbed his fucking sister, and
he never spoke from that point. You know what I
there
mean?
was no that's how I get in part 2. Oh, every time every time he grunts, I'm like, this motherfucker never made
Grunting
a noise.
the
Like
whole time.
he's when he's stabbing people, I'm like, no, dude, stop.
I'm sure you've seen the clips of it, or if you've watched it or whatever, but they also have, the director's cut. I think it's the director's cut, right? Where he yells out and he goes, die!
Yeah.
I don't know if I might have seen it back in the day. I don't know. But I've seen the clips now. I don't know if I've watched that version from start to finish. Maybe I did. I don't remember. I don't really intend to. I know it has like almost a completely different ending, kind of too, the way it is.
That's the one I watched, I think, for the review.
Oh, really?
It's got it was the
Oh, so maybe that's why you feel worse about it, because I do
Yep.
think that version is dramatically worse from just the ending. Because I don't know if we're ready to talk about that with spoilers and stuff like that, but Laurie's fate, I think, in the director's cut is different than the theatrical. Yes, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I like the version what happens in yours, where I think the one that happens in the theatrical, like you said, it kind of goes for a Halloween 4 kind of thing. And I'm not saying it's like greatly executed, but I think that's better and probably more interesting. And at least Michael's not, he still grunts throughout the theatrical.
Yeah.
He definitely does that, but he ain't scream and die. And I think he probably grunts maybe a tad bit less.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's why I like mine better.
They excluded some of the grunting.
Yeah, so
if
I watched your version, I probably feel the same way.
Yeah. He clubs this kid to death. He takes that rabbit and red flyer out of his pocket, and I said the camera work during this scene was fucking dizzying because the jump cuts. There were so many jump cuts in this fucking scene. I'm like, come on.
It was an odd choice.
Yeah. And then he walks away and just leaves the body laying in the fucking woods. And then back home, Ronnie's making fun of him for being called a cat killer. And he says, that's some serious faggoty ass shit. And Judith is set to take Michael trick-or-treating. And Judith's boyfriend shows up. And she's like, fuck you. I was just lying to mom because mom went to work. Ronnie's sitting there watching TV. Judith's going to go upstairs and get plowed by this fucking shaggy dude. I can't remember his name. I didn't even bother to write it down. He was
It doesn't matter what his name is.
It's irrelevant.
It doesn't matter what your name is, jabroni. But yeah, I just called him Shaggy. So Deborah,
I kind of forget what he looks like, to be honest with you.
He's like what's the guy from Stranger Things? Joseph that played Eddie Munson, that guy.
Oh, okay.
So that actor,
Yeah.
He kind of looked like if you ordered Eddie Munson from like Temu or Wish, like that's what you would get as this guy. But so we go to the strip club and Deborah is on stage working the pole to Love Hurts. And
good song.
Great song. That's Nazareth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Nazareth. Because I'm trying to think. I saw them in concert back in like '98. But anyway, I've seen them, and I saw them and the Blue Oyster Cult together, which was pretty fucking rad.
Nice.
Yeah, Nazareth was the headliner. Oyster played right before them.
So that's cool because on Judith's radio they're playing Seasons Don't Fear the Reaper.
Yep.
So in the same, is that in this movie as well? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's in 2.
Wait, no, that's no. That is 2 because Linda's got one of them's got headphones on.
Yeah.
One of them's no. Judith has headphones on when she gets whacked.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Yeah, she had headphones on when she got off. But so we go back and forth between the strip club and the house. We see Michael sitting outside, eating his candy, puts his mask back on, goes in. Judith is upstairs with her boyfriend. And this, I forgot to play this too. Shit, wait, did I know? Where am I in order here? Hang on. Yeah, right here. Here we go. We get the mask origin. I had this clip out of order. But right here.
Got a surprise for you. Open.
I had to carefully edit that because I didn't want to get YouTube striking me for showing boobs. But yeah, so that's where the mask comes from in the zombie verse. This guy's obviously a William Shatner fan.
It's a weird way to introduce the mask, that's for sure.
It was a very
I will say that mask looks really good though. I think that's a good shot of that mask. The thing about the Halloween franchise, it's notoriously known for having terrible masks. I think that was something we talked about on my video with you. And up to that point, I mean, when you really look at the history, there wasn't many good masks at all. It feels like we have a little bit more balance now because say what you want about the DDG trilogy.
The masks were
great.
The masks were absolutely.
So it feels like we got, a balance, like half are good, half are bad because of those and Rob Zombie 1. But yeah, up to that point, really, we had a lot of bad masks. So that was one thing Rob Zombie got right. It was not my favorite in the franchise, but it's good.
Yeah. I love Halloween 4. That's like arguably my favorite one of the entire franchise. And the mask is not great in that one at all. Part 5 is bad. Honestly, I like 2. I like the mask in 2.
Halloween 2, yeah.
Which Halloween sequel gives the mask eyebrows?
Resurrection.
Yeah, that's Resurrection.
Yeah.
Okay. I hated the eyebrows.
Trick or treat, motherfucker!
I didn't mind that movie. I really didn't.
No, I'm a little bit of a Halloween Resurrection defender. That's kind of what my Resurrection video I mentioned is going to be kind of about. It's not that I love it. I have a lot of nostalgia for it. That's the first one I saw in theaters. Where my age is, that's the one I would have saw. I was like 5 or 6 when it came out in theaters. So I always grew up liking that movie. It wasn't until I joined the YouTube horror space probably like 5 years or so ago that I learned that apparently it's the worst of the franchise to most people. So because of that, I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to like this. But recently I'm like, you know what? Screw all that. Busta Rhymes is hilarious. So
yeah.
I rather watch Resurrection any day of the week over the Rob Zombie films than Halloween Ends.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
no, I'm with you. What up, Vinny? Good to see you, brother. Deborah, let's see. Okay, so she's he wants to bang her with the mask on, and then Michael goes into the house, and Ronnie's passed out in the chair. Michael sits down at the table, eats some candy. He's playing paper football with some candy corn there on the table, flicking it onto the floor because in a house like that, fuck it, why not? Just let the ants go to town. And putting candy corn on the floor is better than eating it. Let's be honest. Just don't put that in your body. Please don't do that. I'm recovering. I'm a recovering fucking he casually grabs a roll of duct tape and a big kitchen knife, heads into the living room for some bonding time with Ronnie. And then Michael slits his fucking throat and looks into his eyes as he bleeds out, and then he takes off his mask and kind of looks at him. Yeah, that was
it's brutal. The one that I wondered about it while watching it, I guess maybe in case he could fight out of it. I don't really see the point of taping them all up if he was just going to slit his throat, because if he just slit his throat while he was sleeping, that was probably good enough, right? Like,
he could have done it. I think it was just more the show of force, I guess, to like make him feel helpless, because Ronnie put him through hell. He's tortured this kid.
Yeah.
So I think this was the big payback, as James Brown would say. And yeah, it was a brutal fucking kill scene, dude. He's just sitting there gurgling out. And Michael's watching the life drain from his eyes. So upstairs, Judith and Shaggy finish up, and he heads down to the kitchen because, like, zoink, Scoob, I need some Scoob. He needs something to eat. He's got the munchies. I can't do a good Shaggy. Mikey follows him with an aluminum bat and decides to play a symphony on the back of his skull, and he gets his motherfucking cranium cracked and clubbed to death. And then Michael just drops the bat and heads upstairs to Judith's room. And I said right here, Don't Fear the Reaper is playing on the headphones. And Michael enters and unmasks as she's laying on the bed. He puts on her boyfriend's mask, and he's really fucking creepy here. He's like running his finger up her thigh, and she thinks it's Shaggy. And she turns around, sees it's Michael in the mask, slaps him until he just says, you know what, fuck this, and he stabs him. This is another brutal fucking scene.
Yeah.
And she's walking down the hall, and then she's crawling, and he's slashing at her. And Zombie has this annoying shaky cam when they focused on the mask in this scene. And I think this is the only time they did it in this whole movie, was this scene. And it just like it just went real fucking like real shaky. And then he stabs her, he finishes her off, and notices Boo sitting there, and he takes his mask off, walks over and wishes her happy Halloween and gives her a kiss. I'm just like, all right. So at first, I remember the first time I saw this, I'm like, oh God, please don't kill the baby. But
I know
they can't kill the baby. They need the baby because that's his sister.
And he's sweet with her. He's like, happy Halloween, Boo.
Yep. Yeah.
He's a great big brother. So
right. He's a very, very loving, caring brother. Yeah, very sensitive. Deborah comes home and finds Mikey chilling on the porch with Boo. And then, she's like, what happened? What happened inside? And this is obviously his take on the first one. And they didn't even come close to nailing the camera shot right.
No.
Because they couldn't do that steady cam shot right. He couldn't do it. There's no way he could recreate that. It didn't fucking work.
Yeah.
From the angle he shot it, it just didn't look good. If you're comparing it to the first one in that respect, anyway. But we get all the exposition from the reporter right here, and Michael is just seated expressionless in the back of the police car. So there's our backstory, and then he's in Smith's Grove 11 months later, and we have another news report giving us exposition details on the trial. And this introduces Loomis as his therapist, and he's interviewing Mikey. Mike claims not to remember anything about the night that he, killed all these people. And he's talking to Deborah, and because he asks if everyone at home is okay. And I said this is dissociative disorder amongst a myriad of other issues. For him, not that I would say clearly dissociative disorder, unless anybody else has a psychiatric diagnosis. But I mean, there's a lot. He's obviously a sociopath, but I mean, those two things can go hand in hand. Yeah,
you can have multiple issues going on. Oh, yeah. He also shows signs of depersonalization. It makes sense that Loomis is in this. Well, and that's another thing I hate Rob Zombie's take on Loomis, but it makes sense that Loomis is like really interested in Michael from a psychology standpoint, because he really is in these movies a very complex mental case.
Yeah.
But I don't like it.
Yeah,
No.
that's what it always boils down to. It's like everything about it, like it's just I don't like the entire take on this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not here for it.
No. So the next scene we have Danny Trejo's Ishmael character, and he says this to Michael through his door.
You gotta look beyond the walls. You know, learn to live inside your head. Hey, there's no walls that can stop you there.
And that worked more with the first, like that idea of that seed kind of, I don't know. It doesn't work with this character. I just, because he gets out by brute force. It's not like he's not, he's more of a person in this than, you know, Nick Castle's in the first one in 78, because he's the shape in that. There's nothing. There's no fucking humanity. The only, you know, you don't even see grown up Michael's face really. He's unmasked in that one scene, but it's shadowed. And I think that was Tony Moran when they took the mask off.
Yeah.
And you just barely see him, but still there's nothing there. There's no humanity. This does way, way, way too much and takes all that mystique away from him.
And that was actually John Carpenter's problem with Rob Zombie's take on Michael Myers.
He humanized him.
Yeah, and that's the main issue. Like I said, they made him a human, and it's not that he's not a human in the rest of the Halloween franchise, but there was that element of like a little bit of supernatural. Like, I don't know, like just the fact that he appears and disappears, hiding behind bushes, and you know what happens at the end of one. You're like, oh, where'd he go? Like, it's that element that makes him like, is he really the boogeyman? You know, this movie doesn't make you feel like he's the boogeyman. You look at him as like a bullied kid who gets huge by the time he's an adult. I mean, massive. There was no signs of the kid. I mean, I get growth spurt, whatever, but I mean, massive. Like now he's just a freight train.
Yeah, like what was he eating in there, and how they let him lift all the weights?
That's what I'm saying. Y'all gonna let this child serial killer become like jacked or whatever?
He showed up. I was like, well, it's the big show. I'm like, Jesus, Paul White.
Is that another wrestling reference?
Damn it, Trina. Yes, there goes my phone again. Shit. All right. So our next therapy session, Trina needs help because I won't quit referencing wrestling during our horse stream.
I like some good old WWE too, so I like the references.
Oh no, come on. What is it with the horror community and like in wrestling?
I grew up watching that too, yeah.
So Michael, he's donning a self-made black mask at his next therapy session, and then we go to, he's talking about like how the colors, and it's my favorite color. And Loomis is like, well, that's the absence of color. That's like the opposite end of the spectrum. That's no color, whereas white is all the colors. And
because that was important dialogue.
Yeah, that's what was very interesting. They were going like real, like I guess deep into colors, all this stuff. It was like, I mean, I guess it's kind of interesting, but it's kind of like it doesn't fit the tone of everything you set up before the scene. It's like, what's really the point of this?
Now you're going with this elevated intellectual like take after like philosophical after dig through the ditches, burn through the witches. You know, come on, dude. What do you about?
It goes back to what we were talking about with Rob Zombie not really knowing what kind of dialogue to do. This was, I guess, the one scene where he tries to go a little bit more elevated, and this is what we get. When we talk about colors, that's when Rob Zombie's intellect is going to come out.
So Loomis is talking about Michael's new obsession with masks, and the only time he takes them off is when his mother visits. So when Deborah comes, she tells him not to wear them, to which he says it hides his ugliness. And Michael is slowly becoming silent. Over Christmas, he's melting down, begging to go home. Loomis tries to comfort him and reminds him of why he can't go home. And we see Loomis gets Michael some outside time. They're like outside in the yard at a picnic table. Michael tells Loomis he needs to get out, and then Deborah's visiting, and she takes his mask off momentarily, and he asks her to put it back on. And then we have another recording from Loomis, and he refers to Michael as a shape of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, he references obviously the shape, which it doesn't fit here because he's just a fucking serial killer. He's a little serial killer. That's
and I don't like when they show, like, I get what they're going for, but they, when he does that like press conference and he shows the kid's face, he's like, look at those eyes. That fury. And it's like, you don't really feel it. It just looks like some kid, what I mean? That's like, angry. It's like, that's not the same. That's not what Donald Pleasance, gave us in the first movie.
Yeah, it came from, like I said, this is like an environmental serial killer. Like, I guarantee you, like, if they did a test on him, like, he probably has, there's imbalances, I would say, too, because I guarantee you, whoever his real father was not a stable individual. Obviously the mother's not, and that can have factors on it too. And then you put him in that broken household, and he's getting bullied at school, and everything just plays in, and this kid, just the perfect storm, and he erupted, and then he doesn't know anything else. It's that
they victimized him.
Yep. So now it's that singular mindset. Everybody's against me,
And that's not Michael Myers.
No. This is another good one here. Michael and Loomis and Deborah are eating, and Deborah leaves Michael a picture of him and Boo, and Deborah says her goodbyes. She's going to take her leave and step out. And we get this scene right here. And I have to say, I had to look it up because when I saw her face, I was like, I know that woman. I've seen her topless in a lot of schlock movies. Miss Sybil Danning plays Nurse Wynn, who is an obvious nod to Dr. Wynn, who is from the original timeline, and the leader of the Cult of Thorn. One of those little Easter eggs in there.
I did not even pick up on that. That's a fun fact. Now this movie is redeemed. Now I like it.
See?
That's all it takes.
So here's the Sybil Danning scene.
Cute baby. Couldn't be related to you.
Yeah, he was fucking of course, in typical Rob Zombie fashion, wah, wah, get the fucking alarms and everything's loud. People are fucking screaming and yelling, and Michael's screaming and thrashing around.
Michael's screaming too. Ah! It's like, I will say, like, what drove me nuts about the scene, it's like, she's there, with a kid who's known for doing what he did. And after talking to him and he doesn't say a word, she just turns her back to him. And it's like, I'm just going to read a book and not even pay attention to him.
And I'll go one step further. Why on God's green earth was he allowed to have a metal fork?
I know.
There is somebody like that. First of all, there's going to be a guard in there. I can tell you that 100% unequivocally. There's going to be a guard in that room at all fucking times with that kid in there. He is not going to be allowed to have anything sharper than a spoon. Like, I'm sorry, kid, you're gonna have to cut your food with a fucking spoon because you can't be trusted with sharp objects. So they give him a fork, and then she fucking just does, okay, please don't kill me.
It's like, cute baby. Let me just turn my back to you. Such a sweet boy.
I'm gonna do my Sudoku puzzle now. So
I mean, she was kind of asking for it at that point.
Yeah, poor Sybil Danning, but that was just another one of those. Hey, Rob, I know Rob Zombie's like, yeah, I see her tits back in the 80s. Yeah, let's cast her in the movie. Yeah, dun 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 dun.
That's exactly probably what went down.
I guarantee you that was like the call. That was the casting meeting right there. That was the pitch. So Deborah is at home and she's crying and watching the 8mm movies of Mikey and Much Happier Times. And then she decides to go Kurt go bang and suck starter 38. Oh yeah, right in front of the fucking kid. Like, hey, everybody else is dead. I'm home alone with this baby. You know what? You're on your own, little one. Bop.
Yeah, that Laurie Strode doesn't even realize how much she dealt with before she realized what she dealt with.
Oh my god.
I know.
Jeez. Talk about a rough baby life.
And I made a note and I said my problem with this scene, and this is such a nitpick, but I'm like, women do not employ that method of deletion, and I have to say that because of YouTube. That is not how that. It's always something neat because psychologically, and I'm not being misogynistic, Trina, you can back me up.
It's a fact.
The urge to not leave a mess behind is always there.
And women are less likely to choose a violent way of going out.
It's
where
peaceful.
Men are like just the quickest way to get the job done.
Yep.
Men are more likely to actually commit the act than women.
Mm-hmm.
When the ideation comes into mind, women are more likely to make a gesture about it and then seek help for it, whereas men will just complete the act.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting what you said about the not wanting to leave a mess part. I've never heard of that or thought of that. I'm definitely gonna look into that because that's intriguing.
I took a lot of psych, and we went into depth about that when we were talking about depression and stuff like that. And yeah, that's it's crazy to like think about that, you know, the methodology and the psychology behind it. And yeah, like you said, Trina, men are much more likely to just punch their ticket on a whim. Like that. Whereas the other, it's more of like a lifeline. They're looking for help. In the female.
Absolutely. That's just a fact. It's not.
No, that's the way it is. Yeah. You guys can fact check that out there if you disagree with me. But well, I mean, let's face it. I don't really care what anybody thinks of me anyway. I get called every ist and phobe on Twitter before 7 a.m. than most people do in their entire lives, and I just smile and say thank you because that means I've won. In a back and forth, if you resort to one of those, you're done. You're done. You came to a battle of wits unarmed, my friend. But so we'll cut to 15 years later, and we have the Ishmael, which is Danny Trejo, walking with another orderly, and the younger one, who is he played one of the inmates on The Walking Dead, who they found in the prison season, and he was in there for was he the one that was a pedo? I think he was a pedo. So like when he died, I was like, fuck it, whatever. But in this, he is a scumbag as well, because they're walking down and he's telling Ishmael, I don't work for you, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to take Michael from his cell here. Mm-hmm. And we go inside Michael's cell, and I'll play this clip because Michael Myers is listed on his, like, you know, his official, like, you know, killer stats. He's 6'1", 205 pounds. All right. For a frame of reference, I'm 6'3", 220. All right. So Michael Myers is 6'1", 205. This is Tyler fucking Maine.
God damn, I wouldn't want to bum the freak out.
Sorry about these chains, Mikey.
What do you mean you're sorry about these chains?
That motherfucker is massive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he looks more like Jason fucking Voorhees.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I mean, the guy is just huge.
And it's crazy in that scene, you know, the other guy, not Danny Trejo, his instinct in that situation, who's a guy that big, who's not handcuffed in the moment, you know's crazy and killed people. And I mean, just look at the mask and everything he's got going on. Your instinct is to insult him when he can attack you right now. I mean, it's just another one of those like horrible writing goofiness where it's like Michael could have just went after him right then and there. It's
Yeah.
like, keep your mouth shut.
Yep.
Yep.
I was completely like, yeah, I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, he's fucking with his stuff, and yeah, he's calling him a retard and shit. I'm like, dude, like, and you tell Danny Trejo's got like a level, he's got a rapport with him. Like,
Yeah.
that's my degree was like criminal justice corrections, and it's like establishing a rapport. You know, you're not friendly, but you have a working relationship. You got to have a rapport because you're going to be in contact with each other. So it's just, hey, you've got that agreement to where I'm going to do this and you're going to do this, and then we'll okay. Michael knows anytime he can fucking kill them guys. Like,
yeah, 100%.
He knows it, but he's just like, all right, I'll go along with it. They let me sit here and make my masks, and so
why antagonize him?
Yep. That guy was a fucking asshole. Like,
yeah.
But it's a good setup, and I couldn't clip. I wanted to clip the scene where we'll get there because it's like there's so much going on that I'm just like, I cannot even risk showing half of this.
Yeah.
But so they take Loomis to or they're taking Michael to Loomis, and I said the guard is just talking shit, and he tells Michael he's gonna fuck up his cell, and Loomis says to Michael, he says, you haven't said a word to me in 15 years. That's nearly twice as long as my first marriage. Loomis tells him he tells Michael he's his best friend. And he's like, this just shows how fucked up my life is. This will be my last visit. He tells Michael, take care. And he exits, and we get him in the trench coat. You know, that's like really the first time I think they've showed him in the Dr. Loomis trench coat. And this is where we go to the scene with him lecturing on his book, The Devil's Eyes, the Michael Myers story. And I said, Loomis is a narcissist writer now, because he's then we go back to the prison. And this is when the other guard comes in off duty, and the one's his guy's cousin. And they're going to assault a female patient. And I had forgotten about this scene. I completely forgot about this entire sequence. And they're gonna take her into Michael Myers' cell. And so they do, and they have her on his bed. And I said, this is an unnecessary scene. And they fuck up. They start to one of them puts his masks on. He tosses one of them, smashes it all, and then Michael fucking tosses one of them, puts him off the wall, splits his skull. I said I'm fine with these scumbags dying violently. I was fine with that.
So that's the director's cut, right?
Yeah,
that's not in the theatrical. So I actually never seen that scene until like, I don't know, a couple years ago. People talking about it on YouTube, and then the clip came up.
Yeah.
So the version I just rewatched wasn't that one again.
Where did it cut off from there? Like,
that just didn't even happen, like, at all. Like,
did it go from like his talk with Loomis right to right? Did it show Danny Trejo getting killed?
Yes.
Okay,
so that happened, but the way he escaped it wasn't what happened in that scene with the girl. It was like, oh, we're transporting him to a different asylum or something, like, you know, the typical, like, with kind of what they did at Halloween 4, and they're like walking him with the chains, and they had police and everyone stand by, and basically when they went into a certain room, locked the door, Michael was like, all right, it's on, and just started fighting them all, and just took them all out.
I've seen that too. That one, that's the theatrical one. Yes, I remember. Okay, because the last couple times I've watched this, like I said, it's been over 5 years, but it's been the director's cut.
Yeah.
So you get that extra. Yeah, like I said, I'd forgotten all about that scene.
Yeah.
I just watched a review of this not long ago, and they showed that scene in it with him killing the cops in the holding area.
See, I'd rather see the scene I saw than the one you saw too, because like the scene you saw is just like, dude, what is that? You know what I mean? In a Halloween movie too.
Yeah.
Except bringing them into Michael's room to do that in front of. I mean, it's crazy. Like I said, I don't think I even knew about it until a couple years ago, like maybe two or three max. And when I saw that, I was like, this is crazy. I was like, should it exist?
Which one did you watch, Trina?
Today I saw it's on Amazon. I think it's a theatrical one, but I did see the director's cut as well years ago.
Yeah, the ones I watched were both on Peacock, I think. That's how
the one on Peacock is the same, the one that's streaming on Amazon. Yeah, it's the same movie.
I got these two digitally from I borrowed them from somebody. So yeah, I got the director's cuts of both. But so he finds Ishmael, Danny Trejo's character, is clocking in, and he goes to the desk where the nurse on duty is usually sitting, and Gloria is her name, and she's not there. So he just walks away, and you see Michael standing over her, and she's bleeding out. And then Ishmael finds 2 dead security guards, and he turns around, and Michael's there. And at this point, Danny Trejo is going to rely on the rapport he's established with Michael, and he's going to fucking be like, hey, Mikey, all right, I'm going to have to put these handcuffs on you. And Michael fucking just offers his hands up. He puts his fucking hands up. And at this point, if I was Trejo, I just would have been like, will you walk back to your room?
Yeah.
Either that or
either that or the handcuffs. Yeah.
Either that or, you know what, Mikey, I don't fucking care. Just leave. Don't kill me.
Yeah.
Just fucking leave.
Or just play dumb. Like, Michael, do you see what happened here? Any idea who did this? You know what I mean? Like
Michael, who did this? It couldn't have been you. Let's go find out together.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go.
Scooby-Doo style. Let's go after him. I don't know. Yeah, I will say that is not a good scene in the sense, but like, you feel bad for him. He was a genuine character. He's probably maybe the only one in the whole movie.
He is. He's the only redeemable character. Yeah.
Yeah. So you do feel bad for him, and like he said, and he's the famous line where he's like, "I was good to you, Mikey. I was good to you," and it's true. Like from a young age, he was giving her the tips, and you do feel bad for him because it's like, damn, and it's like, I don't know.
Yep, that was it. I did too. I felt it hit me, man. I was like, because I've watched so many interviews with Danny Trejo, and knowing his past and how he found God and he's been redeemed, and he does so much. He's doing shit for charity so much now. He's like 80 some years old.
Wow.
Like he's been around for a long time.
He has been around a while.
In and out of prisons, his early part of his life until he got an extra a part in a movie. He had to play. They're like, can you play an inmate? And he laughed, and he started talking to the director about it because he was out of prison. And and one of the actors, he had who was it? I can't remember which one it was. The girl on his chest, that tattoo he's got. It looks like one of the lead actresses. I think it was like Marissa Tomei or something like that. He was in a movie. It was kind of funny story he was talking about in an interview. But yeah, I felt bad when his character died, man.
Yeah.
Because Michael fucking smashes the TV on his head too.
Okay, so another part of this that doesn't make sense. So is Rob Zombie wanting to portray him as so the reason why he turned into a serial killer is because he was bullied and, exacted revenge and all that stuff. Okay, if that's where he's going with that, then why didn't he spare, what's his character? Danny Trejo's life, can't remember his character's name now. Wouldn't he have spared him?
Yes, he would have, because he was empathetic to Michael. He was nurturing. He was kind. He was almost better to him than Loomis was.
Loomis was an asshole in these movies.
Yeah, Loomis was just, It was more fake. Yeah, exactly. Even at that point, before he was about the money and this and that, which I guess he kind of maybe always was, but you didn't feel like he genuinely actually cared. He was just playing a game so he could write his book or whatever.
Yeah.
This guy cared for Mikey for some reason. I keep calling him Mikey. I was like,
Oh my god.
I do the same thing throughout the review. You'll catch me when I'm reading my script. I'll say Mikey or like Big Mikey and Little Mikey. The big and little
Big John and Little John. Halloween Kills, baby.
No, I was waiting for it to be like, look what I can do, Michael. So we get a phone ringing, and Loomis answers, and it's Dr. Coplinson from Smith's Grove, played by Clint motherfucking Howard. And he tells Loomis that Michael has escaped the hospital and that it's an absolute bloodbath. Loomis says he's on his way. And then we get this, which I'll take the copyright for. I don't I fucking love Rush. I don't care. I love Rush unapologetically.
Worth the copyright.
Yep, it well worth it. So we're at this truck stop, and like I said, we get treated to Tom fucking Sawyer by Rush, and then we get the absolute greatness that is Mr. Ken Foree, who plays this man.
Business back in town. Who's got the Cracker Jack? Listen, Matt.
Big Joe Grizzly. I fucking love Ken Foree, man. Dude was at Horror Hound last time I was there. He's fucking awesome.
Yeah, say what you want about this movie. Joe Grizzly and this scene that leads, the bathroom scene is very iconic, and it's one thing that throughout time, like me not watching this movie, I always did remember this scene. So it is a great scene.
You're like, you wanted more of this character.
Like,
yeah, because he was the best character of the movie.
And he was there for 2.5 minutes.
Yep. And you wanted to, like, man, where's Big Joe Grizzly been? This dude's cool as fuck. Like, he gets his porno mag, and he sits down, and he's got a double taco and some burritos or whatever in his stomach that he's fighting with. Yeah. And Michael comes and walks up to the stall door, and I swear to Jesus, this is the most terrifying scene I've ever. Them goddamn feet. I'm just like,
oh my gosh, yeah, that was like, it came to my brain.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, they got Brie Larson to do that scene. All right, good for you, Brie. Good for you, Brie.
I know Brie Larson. I didn't know that was a thing. I'll have to look into that.
She's got fucked up ass feet, man.
Jeez, Captain Marvel.
She sleeps upside down, hanging from her toes, I think.
Jeez.
So he's knocking on the door, and Joe's like, "Hey, if you're looking for action, this ain't the fucking place." And so he pulls out his knife, and here, I'll just.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch. Come on.
Yeah, poor Joe Grizzly.
I like how he gets hyped too when he punches him, and he's like, "Yeah, I got you now."
Yep. He lit him up. Michael's like, huh?
Yeah.
It's like nothing. It's like, oh fuck. Yeah. He's like, man, he's got your fucking knife, bro. Like,
yeah.
You're like, oh yeah. Like,
yeah, look how strong I am.
Yeah. Like,
I'm Joe Grizzly.
I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch. I just punched you in the face and got stabbed in the guy.
Yeah, and Joe Grizzly, I think that's what made Michael seem. I mean, we already knew he was big, but like formidable, because Joe Grizzly didn't seem like a soft, small guy. He seemed pretty big, and he did seem like someone like you don't want to mess with. Mm-hmm. And then when Michael walks in, you're like, dude, he's so much bigger. Yeah. And that was the thing about Tyler Mane. Like, dude, that really even showed how massive he is, because you put him up against another guy that looked pretty big and made him look weak and small.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good fucking scene for that reason right there, because it really showcased. It's like. Yeah, because you saw him with Danny Trejo and that other dude, and they're both like under 6 foot tall. Like Ken Foree is obviously over 6 foot tall and a very large statured guy. And it's like, oh,
yeah.
So he takes his coveralls and his boots to cover up them fucked up ass toes, because nobody wants to get murdered by somebody with them.
That was first priority.
It was.
Cover up the toes.
Thank God.
Yeah.
So we're in Haddonfield on October 31st, and we go to the Strode household. Mr. Sandman is playing softly in the background. And
now we're getting the Halloween remake in.
Yes. And we meet Lori, played by the lovely Scout Taylor Compton. She's introduced. Her dad, who's Mason, who's played by Joe Skipper, I think it was. And he owns Strode Realty. Her mom, Cynthia, played by the legend Dee Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the scene where she's like, the dad says, "Oh, Nelson's Hardware is closing. 42 years. That's a shame." And the mom's like, he's a ripoff. And Lori's like, he's a pervert. And she takes those bagels and she's like, "Mr. Nelson touched me." And she's like, "Look, mommy." And she's like shoving her finger through the bagel. That was a funny fucking scene. But I'm more like, this is Rob Zombie still.
Yeah.
Like,
this is how we're gonna remake the authentic, pure version of Laurie Strode.
Yeah.
And this is the wholesome family. This is the wholesome Strode family. So
yep.
And he's got her acting like Judith used to act.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Honestly, like that was the weird thing. I had the second, like I knew it wasn't them. Like I said, I haven't watched these movies in a while. I was like, wait, is that the same actress? I like double check. I'm like, no, not. Like you said, Scout Taylor Thompson or whatever. I was just like, but at first I was like, they seemed very, very similar, and I'm like, that's not what they're supposed to be. But
yeah,
whatever. Who cares?
So Lori takes the envelope to the Myers house. She's got to take, and they recreated that with Tommy Doyle. Little time. They did a good job with the actor that played Tommy Doyle in this, matching him up to the original actor. Pretty similar. And they're discussing the Mexican Wolfman on the way to the Myers house. And we see Michael is already home and he's walking around the house, and he is inside. And this is where we get this scene right here, which is him retrieving some items. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
Under the floorboards.
He's like, all right, before I get arrested, let me keep my mask underneath the floorboard and my big butcher knife.
Right. I'm like,
I'll be back for this.
Yeah, that's good. He had good carpentry skills as a child.
Yeah.
To remove the floorboards, in such haste after murdering four people.
Yeah.
4 people. Yeah, no way that mask was.
Oh, dude, no.
My masks are out here, like on my display case, in the main part of the basement next to the Legos, and on the shelf there with my Ushanka and all that. And I look inside those. I get my house sprayed every month, with like organic pesticides and shit. Organic, but like repellents, not pesticides, but organic shit. Found a veteran-owned company, really nice, local. But I don't have spider problems, but I'm terrified of spiders. And ever since that movie, Arachnophobia, where the one got in the dude's football helmet, I'll always check my fucking masks before I put one on. It freaks me out.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of spiders. Definitely don't like them, but there's always that glimmer of hope. Like if I do get bit, I might turn into Spider-Man. So
there's always an upside. I like you're a glass half full kind of guy, Blake.
Exactly.
I like that. I like that. That youthful optimism. I like that. So Michael sees Lori and Tommy approaching the house. Lori drops off the envelope and she's, oh, Tommy's got me, kind of messing with Tommy, and he's Michael's watching, and then we see Lori, Annie, the lovely Danielle Harris, and Linda, played by Christine Klebe. They're in the school library and they're discussing plans for their evening. And Lori glances out the window and sees Michael standing outside staring at her. And I said, okay, how the hell does he know she's in that exact room, in that exact seat? I said, it's on the second story, for fuck's sake.
What's your take on Daniel Harris being in this movie. Do you like it? Did you like it when it first happened, or in retrospective, how do you feel about, you know, the beloved Daniel Harris who played Jamie Lloyd, Howie 4-5, playing, you know, was it Annie, right? In this
Annie
one?
Brackett. Yep.
Yeah. So how do you feel about it?
Trina shares this sentiment with me because we talked about this morning multiple times. They did her dirty. This whole franchise has done that poor woman dirty.
Yeah.
It's given her a lot of opportunities, but these two movies really did her dirty, man.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. Like
it's a cool novelty, like, oh, we're gonna bring in Daniel Harris. She was a character from back then, blah blah. But it's just like the way they use her character, especially we know her as a child star and this and that. It's just like, it's Rob Zombie just not being mindful to how the fans might feel about the way he used this character.
I would have rather seen her play Lori.
Yeah, that probably would have been a lot more honoring, and that would have been probably a lot more unique. You know, it's funny. I didn't even really think of that, which is an obvious thing to think about. Yeah, I definitely probably would have liked that better. Maybe they would have used her differently. Definitely would have not been treated the same way with the scenes she had in both movies. So
it just seemed disrespectful the way that she got fucked
100%.
up in both movies. I mean, it just and we'll get there. It's just they did her dirty. Trina, you're there, right?
Oh yeah, yep. That's how I feel about it. And you know, because in this first movie, it was actually going really well. I'm like, oh, cool. You know, her character, everything was going great. And then, you know, what happened to her later at the end.
It's like that's another one of those things that just shouldn't happen, especially what we know and love her from in this franchise. And I can't help but watch, especially when you see Michael Myers going after, like, you think of the child and Halloween 4, and it's just like we shouldn't be seeing this in this movie. It's just not right. You know what I mean? You gotta draw a line somewhere, and I feel like that's he drew no lines throughout this movie, which I guess is somewhat you respect, but it's like you gotta honor some of the beloved characters. I feel bad for Daniel Harrison, like you said, in that sense, where, you know, she's so beloved in the franchise. The diehard Halloween fans. You mentioned how Halloween 4 is arguably one of your favorites, or might be your favorite. It is my favorite in the franchise. This is the first time I'm saying that on YouTube solely. My video talked about, oh, if the mask was better, it could be. But I've always loved Halloween 4. That's the one I have the most nostalgia for. And I love the combination of Jamie and Rachel. Means a lot to me. So seeing them, like I said, here now, I try to block out the idea of like that's the character that I like, you know, the actress that I. But at the same time, it is crazy, and that's another reason why she got screwed over back then with, I mean, kind of in a way with Halloween 5 with making her go mute, but Halloween 6, obviously, she's not the part of it, and the way they wrote the character of Jamie Lloyd off in Halloween 6 was crazy. And then Rob Zombie, oh, cool, we're gonna give you a shot to be a part of the remake. Oh wow, fans at the time probably were like, that's really cool or interesting. And then what they do with it, it's crazy. So for me, I feel like if they ever were gonna do like another legacy sequel kind of thing, I want to see a Halloween 4 sequel where we bring it back. So that way, not one as a Halloween 4 fan, I love it, but also they give Danielle Harris her real time to shine.
Yeah.
Yep.
She deserves. To me, she is Laurie Strode and Jamie Lee Curtis. She's great. You know, we've seen her a million times. To me, Danielle Harris is just as important. Just really just didn't get the honor that she deserves.
Rachel Carruthers is a better final girl than Laurie Strode.
You're not gonna hear any arguments here. I'm glad I found my people, because that's the type of video I argue with like my cousins over this stuff all the time. Because, you know, so many people, I feel like they'll just hear like, oh no, the original, she's the original final girl. So that automatically makes her the best. It's like, no, that doesn't always mean it. And to me, I mean, not that she's bad in the first one, but to me, my favorite Laurie Strode performance would probably be H2O. So I would even say, so when you go into, you know, teenage Laurie Strode, I don't think she really holds a candle compared to Jamie and Rachel. I think they have way more of an interesting dynamic and care to the characters than what Lisha does in the first movie.
In part 2, she's sidelined most of the movie.
Yeah,
I love part 2. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Halloween 4. That's the first one I saw. That's my favorite. And then it's the first one, and then part 2, and then 3, and then the rest of them are just there's the log jam. But
I'm so glad I found someone who's like, yes, Halloween, because the thing is, I think there's a lot of people out there that do like Halloween 4 more than the original, but some people, I think there's this stigma where you're not allowed to say anything's better than the original. That goes for a lot of movies, but especially in the Halloween franchise. Like you'll be hard pressed to have anyone argue that point. Like it's okay to argue, what's better, Nightmare 1 or Dream Warriors, or what's the best Friday movie, but Halloween, it has to be original and nothing else. It's a race for second, and it's like, why? I don't get it. To me, Halloween 4.
I think that part of that is where you started in the franchise. So a lot of people started with Halloween 1978. That's my case. So I see Laurie is my favorite final girl. Now you guys, 4 is your favorite movie. So Danielle Harris, she's your favorite final girl. And I think that's what it is. It's where we start in the franchise and what our favorite movie is.
No, yeah, that definitely does play a factor for sure. And that's why I always like and welcome different opinions on that, because I'm someone who really doesn't like to follow the crowd when it comes to opinions and this and that. But granted, I also don't want to be so like, oh, just because everyone likes it, I want to be the opposite.
You don't want to be a contrarian.
Yeah, exactly. So it is that weird balance that I feel like where sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to just seem like I'm only going against the grain to go against the grain. But it's like, I like when people aren't afraid to just be like, hey, we'll say, I like Halloween 6 more than this movie, or I like H2O, or I like Halloween 2018. It doesn't always have to be the original or whatever order it is.
No, so, you like what you like. That's it.
Absolutely. So Lori has agreed to watch Lindsay Wallace for Annie so she can go meet Paul, because Lori's babysitting Tommy Doyle too. And we cut over to Smith's Grove, and this is a great scene right here. This is just more fantastic casting, because we get Loomis reviewing the security footage with Coplinson, which is Clint Howard, and Morgan Walker, who's played by Udo Kier, who is, remember the vampire in Blade that the Stephen Dorff took out and they let him fry in the sun along the ocean? That's Udo Kier, who has a long fucking history, long filmography. So they're playing all the blame game on each other for what happened and how Michael escaped. And I said it seems quite callous considering the number of people that got killed during that escape for them to, but that's the way bureaucratic red tape works. They're always looking to pass the buck on to somebody else. So Loomis tells Coplinson and Walker that Michael's going back to Haddonfield. So he, much in the same way, in the first movie, the kind of walkout scene when he gets in the car and he drives away from Smith's Grove. But he was accompanied by Dr. Wynn in the original one, who was recast between 78 and the Man in Black and Revenge of Michael Myers, to what was the guy? I can't think of the guy's name that played him. Very famous actor from the back in the 70s and back. So Linda and Lori are walking home, and I said they got Linda. They're having a riveting discussion, and Linda works in totally. She works that in 2 or 3 times,
which I kind of liked. I thought it was funny. Like I was kind of waiting for it while watching it. I'm like, are they going to say totally? And I don't think they executed it great, but it was funny because it felt shoehorned in, which almost made me like it. Not more, but I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. I did. I got a chuckle out of it. I'm like, how are they gonna? They got to work it in a couple times at least. So they did, and then they notice Michael standing there. So instead of a bush scene with just Annie and Lori, we get this.
Hey, freak!
Hey, freak, you want some of the young stuff? You like that? Well, come and get it.
Hey, stop. Hey, asshole. Hey, my daddy's the sheriff. Huh? Why don't you go crawl back under your fucking rock?
Yeah.
I don't think I'd quite smack talk somebody that looked like that.
No. Again, it keeps boiling back to why is everyone coming at this guy who's 6'8" or 6'9", whatever Tyler Mane is, and it's just like, and saying crazy stuff.
It's just everybody in their dialogue is so confrontational and so just an absolute
Explicit,
asshole.
Yeah.
Yep. Again, Rob Zombie shining through.
Yep.
Yeah. So Linda and Lori, let's see. So they're walking, and let's see. So they go their separate ways. Brad Dourif shows up, Sheriff Lee Brackett, and we get his introduction. And Linda's, of course, talking shit, about him being a cop and everything. So Linda and Lori split up, and they use the original music here. This is a scene where they put in the original score. I said, because there isn't much good at this point. We're an hour in.
Yep.
That was a bonus. I'm like, I like the musical score to it because it's original. Lori is helping her mom, Cynthia, set up the decorations. And we see Michael just approaching in broad fucking daylight from across the street. And then we cut to the cemetery. And Loomis is with the caretaker, Chester Chesterfield, played by the late, great Sid Haig. Captain Spaulding, if you're initiated to that universe. He runs through the backstory, more exposition there, and Haig finds that Deborah's gravestone has been desecrated. Or Judith, I'm sorry. The gravestone is gone, much like in the original, which is, it's more believable that Tyler Mane could move that gravestone than Nick Castle, knowing how much those weigh. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, the excuse for Nick Castle is the boogeyman, supernatural. We don't know, whatever.
Yep.
But Tyler Mane, yeah, freight train. He lift anything. He can lift a car if he wants to.
Oh, which
he does.
Spoiler alert, he fucking does. So Halloween, it's Halloween. It's the 31st of October. Paul and Linda roll up to the Myers house. They're gonna get their freak on. Not knowing this will soon be a menage a trois.
Ooh.
Yeah. Michael's gonna put 9 hard inches into somebody's rib cage in a way that would shock you. So he's just he decides to be the guy in the chair in the corner of the room and just observe the evening's proceedings. And of course, Linda wants Paul to go get her a beer. And Paul, he complies. He goes outside, comes back in, donning the famous sheet, and he's walking up the hall, and Michael just grabs him and strangles him. And then we get the scene where he pins him to the wall with the knife, and they shot this at an angle that made his head tilt look ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like when he tilted his head, because they shot it like up the stairs,
Mhm.
because he didn't do it in the kitchen this time. It looked, I didn't like the way it looked. I didn't like the aesthetic. It really ruined the impact of the head tilt.
Yep.
Yeah, they were trying to go for something, different but the same, which you gotta respect. Like that's the point of a remake. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if like you said, is it the way he was shot? It's just the way Tyler Mane's mannerisms were. It definitely wasn't as effective. But at this point of the movie, it's like I really wasn't expecting it to be. So
no,
it's fine. I did think the initial jump scare when he came at him. I don't know if it shocked me this weekend or maybe it's when I watched it a couple years ago. Like I said, forgetting the movie, I didn't see it coming because you're like it does play with your expectations because you're like, okay, we're kind of going into beat by beat the same as the original, but he does add little twists in the sense of the locations of when he does things.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It was okay. At this point in the movie, I think this is when things are slightly better than everything we saw previously.
Yeah. It picks up because we're headed into the go home portion of the movie.
Yeah.
So it's got to start ramping up here. So he kills Paul, And then he puts the sheet on, and Linda thinks it's Paul. And we get the famous, see anything you like, which was improvised by PJ Souls in the original movie.
Yes.
That's that line, that catchphrase, she like invented that.
Yes.
Nobody really said that like that before. That see anything you like. That's where
like ever.
That's where that derived is PJ Souls.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's funny that Dennis Quaid was supposed to play Paul in that movie, which was her husband at the time, but he was off filming another movie.
The original?
Yeah. It was supposed to be Dennis Quaid.
Wow.
But yeah, he was filming something else. His schedule.
I never knew that. That's crazy.
Yep. Oh, dude, with the videos I did so much behind the scenes, like production and stuff like that. So it's like I learned a lot.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out for sure.
Yeah, it's very cool. But so Linda, I think she makes doesn't she makes a phone call.
Yes.
And, yep, she makes a phone call, and then he gives her the beer, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And he strangles her to death, and then takes her body off to stage it, of course. And I said, I'm not one to complain about nudity, Lord knows, but it's the way it's shot means a lot to the way it's perceived. And I thought that the way they showed her, like, and like I said, I'm not splitting hairs here, because the actress was like, and I don't know if it was like a body double for Kristen Cleave or not, in the scene where they kind of showed her from behind. I'm like, damn, this is pretty risque. Like, I'm just like, the way it was shot, it was just, it seemed kind of sleazy. I don't know. It was supposed to feel like that, but
yeah,
it just, and this is me saying this,
just more Rob Zombie.
Yeah, that was all I could think of. Was like, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was this whole scene? This was filmed in the Myers house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So that was the one thing they did differently is they went into the Myers house.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't in the Wallace house, because in the original they were in the Wallace house, and Lori and them were at Tommy Doyle's.
I just remember too when they went into the Myers house, they were heading and they're like, "Oh yeah, I can't believe they're selling it." They didn't notice the 6'9" guy standing on the balcony staring down from them.
Yeah,
they like cut over. I'm like, dude, he's like just right there.
Yeah,
I'm like, maybe we should go into this house right now.
Why is that guy standing there looking all menacing? Fuck it, let's go bang. No, I'm sorry, but my inner need for self-preservation far supersedes my need for the carnal desires of the flesh. Push come to shove. I can't live without my life. I can live without sex. I've been married for 15 years. But let's see. That's why God created. Never mind. I'm not going to go into that.
Stop it.
Let's see. So Loomis is at the gun store and doing a little last minute shopping for the holidays, looking for a big gun. And the gun store clerk, Derek Allen, is played by Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees. Hey, we're the Monkees. We don't monkey around because we're too busy singing to put anybody down. Hey, we're the Monkees. I remember watching that show on Nickelodeon as a kid. Was it Nick at Night? It was on Nick at Night. Used to play the reruns of the Monkees. But yeah, I was like, holy shit, Mickey Dolenz. Like, I don't think I recognized him the first time I watched this. But
no, I didn't. No, I didn't know that was him.
And Blake's sitting there going, who the fuck are the Monkees?
Yeah, I'm just sort of like, all right, waiting for the next.
The Monkees were a parody band of the Beatles from back in the day.
Interesting.
And and they had a TV show, and
they were just called The Monkees.
The Monkees. Yep.
Okay. I'll have to look it up. That's interesting.
And literally, that was their.
They were good.
They were actually a decent band, and that was their theme song from their TV show. Hey, we're the Monkees. People
what year did they come out?
Oh my God, was it the 60s?
Yeah,
late 60s.
Didn't it start in? I think the original show was it in black and white? I can't remember.
It's been so long since
Nick at Night's been around that long.
Oh, Nick at Night.
Oh, dude, this was before Nick at Night.
Yeah,
the originals.
They were. I was watching the replays I'm not that old.
Yeah.
I was watching. I'm only 44. I was watching the replays to this as a kid on Nick at Night, like in the 80s.
I just thought I was like, I feel like Nickelodeon and all that wasn't that. I feel like
no, that
90s?
wasn't around back then. Nickelodeon was around in the 80s.
80s, okay.
Yep. But yeah, that's so that Mickey Dolenz got a scene in this. Again, just a fucking cool casting choice.
Yeah.
For a bit part. So Lori and Cynthia are passing out candy. Cynthia are passing out candy in the porch, and Mason comes out and he's having a cigarette. And Annie shows up to pick Lori up, and she's like, "Oh, they're like, oh, how's your dad?" And she's like, "Same as always." They're like, "What the fuck does that mean?" I don't know. And they take off, and smoking will kill you, folks. Just ask Mason Strode, because he's out trying 1966, the Monkees.
66.
So he takes a drag off his cigarette, and Michael fucking grabs him and stabs him and throws him through the door, and he's murdered. And then Cynthia gets stabbed and then stalked, and she's trying to call for help, and he just tilts her head back and snaps her. You hear her neck just snap. So Dee Wallace gets killed, and so does Joe Skipper in this scene. I loved seeing Dee Wallace in this. She has such a deep catalog of horror movies she's been in.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool. So Lori's over at Tommy's house making him a sandwich, and Tommy asks if the boogeyman is real. They have that discussion. Annie calls, and as they talk, Michael is outside the window watching Lori, who tells Tommy that Lindsay's coming over with Annie. And I know Tommy's like, what if the guys find out that a girl's coming over? That was kind of funny. Lindsay is watching the same movie as little Lindsay Wallace in the first one, The Thing from Another Planet. And Michael's standing right fucking behind her, like he's in the house. Like he's just straight up in the fucking house.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how you can't see this big bastard cast in the shadow. Like,
yeah, and I don't think he was walking like smooth and quietly in the way that like Nick Castle and the rest of them were. I think, like you say, he's more of a Jason-like figure, so he's probably stomping and making a bunch of noise.
Yeah, I can't see this guy being very stealth.
Nah, he didn't. He definitely has to be the least stealthiest Michael Myers out of all.
Yeah. So Lindsay and Annie walk over to the Doyle house, and Michael is following behind him, and he's got his knife. They get there, and Annie is talking to Lori about the infamous Ben Tramer.
Ooh.
And Ben.
I like how they sprinkled that in there.
Yep. Ben's got a little thing for Lori.
Yeah, it was actually the opposite this time. It was more Ben wanted her.
Yep.
She's like, I don't want anything to do with him, this and that. So, well, the original Lori was like, stop, you're embarrassing me.
Yep. And she was like, and he said, dude, she's fucking hot.
Yeah. Great dialogue once again.
Yep. Again, that's just award-winning writing. So they let's see. So Annie, she takes off. Loomis and Brackett are together, and Loomis is attempting to make Brackett understand the threat the town is facing, which he's obviously resistant to. And Annie and Lindsay, let's see, they walk to the Doyle house. Okay, I got there. Let's see. So we're at. Let's see. Oh, Paul shows up to pick Annie up, and I said right here, Mikey watches them leave. So I called him Mikey right there. And we're at the Mikey boy. We're at the Haddonfield PD. Brackett's telling Loomis he doesn't like him because he's read his book and he's already made enough money off the suffering of Haddonfield. And again, they're painting Loomis as this fucking just greedy asshole.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing is they do a decent job of doing it in this movie, but they just take it to another level in the second one. Like this was just like the stepping stone of his character arc.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to mention, like, this is just a fun little fact that I got a kick out of when I was watching it. But when we see Laurie babysitting Tommy, in this movie, he's dressed. You remember the makeup, the costume he had on? It was like a red robe and he had like a skull face. Mm-hmm. He was dressed as the Crimson Ghost, which is a Misfits. The band Misfits, it's their mascot. And the Misfits and Rob Zombie, they've done shows together.
Oh.
So I thought that was a cool little
Nice.
little nugget that he put in the movie.
See, that's what's always interesting, having these discussions with other like horror fans and people in these communities. You can learn so much like little stuff like this that general knowledge you might not pick up on. So that's cool.
That's crazy because like the Misfits, Jerry Only is dude's in good shape. They actually did some work in WCW back in the day too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. They did a couple spots. Yeah, it was just kind of funny.
It always comes back to wrestling.
It does. That's why we're wrestling with horror, Trina. Or as Trina says, wrestling with horror. Horror. So let's see. Brackett calls the Strode residents because it comes out that the Strodes adopted Boo because Brackett was the first responding officer at the Myers house the night Michael killed everybody, and he omitted the baby from the report, took the baby, one town or two towns over, and dropped her off at a shelter. And yeah, he got pissed when he found out that Mason Strode, who was a friend of his, adopted the baby and was bringing her back to Haddonfield. So Brackett gets nervous because they're not answering the fucking phone.
Yeah. So that was the interesting thing. So I guess he tried to get her away from the neighborhood.
Yep.
Then set it right back. I guess that adds a little bit of intrigue, the dynamic, but I don't really get the point of why even do it that way. Why not just Laurie Strode just get it, or the Strodes get them in the first place? I guess that was just to do something slightly different. Where it's like, oh, she had a chance to maybe not to be off the grid a little bit more than she is. I don't know.
Yeah, that let's see. So we got that, and then back at Tommy's place, he's insistent about the boogeyman's origins, about finding that out. And then we see Annie and Paul are getting busy, and Michael is again being quite the voyeur, and he decided to watch but not participate yet until he decides to get up in Paul's ribs. Annie then flees topless, grabs a knife, and gets knocked down by Michael. Tries to crawl away, but he says, "Baby, come back. You can blame it all on me." And then Lori goes. She's like, "All right, it's time to take Lindsay home." And on the way over to the house, Brackett is seen telling Loomis that this is where he tells him the story. He was a first officer on the scene of the Myers murder 17 years ago. Found the baby, omitted her from the report, dropped her off in the next town at a shelter. And he said the rationalization was to help the child grow up without the stigma of being attached to a murder and knowing your mother killed herself with you in the room. And it was fine until Mason Strode had decided to adopt that baby.
So we do a little bit of human trafficking just for the good of Lori.
He didn't put her in a Wayfair cabinet though. So we're good. We're good. So they're walking back, and there's Lori and Lindsay are walking back, and they're startled by a gruesome surprise when they get back to the Wallace house. Paul's bloody corpse hanging with a jack-o'-lantern on his head like Dwight Schrute in The Office. Lori finds Annie's body just bloody on the floor, barely alive. And then you see Michael closes the door and finds Lori on the phone. But first he decides to sit there and just bat Paul's corpse around a little bit, which was fucking funny, man. I'm just like, gee, he's just like.
Another nitpick. I look at it like also like, I get it. She's traumatized, but Annie could speak, right? She was speaking.
Yeah.
Michael's standing behind that door right there. Maybe she's like, hey, he's right there.
Yep.
Save yourself. It's like, I don't know.
She was, yeah, she was like having a hard time talking. Like, I don't really understand that. Like, what, her throat wasn't slashed or anything like that. I don't really understand what, because we don't see it happens. Oh, that's actually one. Okay, I have to say this was cool. So when Michael's attacking her, And she tries to escape the house, and he like grabs her and brings her back in and shuts the door. Like we see and hear her screaming, and then when they shut the door, we don't hear it anymore because we're outside. And I thought that was a cool effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at any rate, yeah. So we don't really see how he attacks her. We just see a lot of blood. So I assume that whatever he did to her, she can't talk that well. I don't know.
Yeah, if he stabbed her in the ribs or hit her lung or something, she could be like.
I feel like she yelled or said something by the time her dad came, though. That was the only thing. Like, I think she kept
so
saying,
I don't.
Dad. Like,
she screams for Lori, and then because Lori's calling 911, and Brackett hears the call in from dispatch that the 911 call came in, and Loomis is like, it's Myers. So they're speeding off to the house at this point. And this is Michael grabs Lori, but she gets away, and she's screaming for help while she's limping down the street. And she makes her way back to the Doyle house, and Michael kicks the fucking door in, and the kids run upstairs screaming. And this is when the two cops get there, and this is fucking hilarious. They split up. One's downstairs, one's upstairs. The ones, they got the bathroom door, which has like a glass window in it. It's like frosted glass, though. And because you can just see his silhouette. And Lori and the kids are in the tub, and he's like, can you unlock the door? And they're like, yeah. And they go over to unlock the door. And as soon as he goes, they're like, is he out there? And there's nobody here. And I'm like, how are you missing this guy?
And that's the thing, too. Like, I'm like, you're saying nobody's here, but you're not really. He wasn't looking behind him. Like, I don't think he really checked his surroundings too much. And you're supposed to have a partner with you. Shouldn't he be watching your back? Like, I don't know.
That's it. It got me because the Haddonfield police are just fucking terrible. They're the Keystone Cops. They're fucking. They're Brooklyn Nine-Nine for the younger viewers out there.
Yes,
they're terrible. They're
little small town cops. I mean, they're like, they never see any kind of action in their sleepy little town.
And the thing is, a lot of cops aren't great in horror movies, but like, this isn't like, I'm not gonna say it's played like not silly, but it's kind of played a little serious. Where the cops seem like they are taking their job serious. So You expect a little bit more, like, hey, maybe look behind you a little bit. You know, I mean, I don't know.
Yep. There was no clown music accompanying them during their introduction.
See, in the Halloween 5, we expected that.
Yep.
So.
They weren't talking about banh mi sandwiches in this one.
No.
They weren't talking about the banh mi sandwiches.
The peanut butter jelly.
Yep. Yeah, see? So horror movies would be horror movies without poor tactical decisions. This is also true, man.
Yeah. You kind of do need it.
Yeah. So the one guy gets offed in front of the door, and then the other cop comes up, shoots Myers, and then he gets fucking stabbed because he only pulled the trigger once instead of 6 times. I shot him 6 times, Sheriff. Myers just grabs Lori and takes off with her, leaves Tommy and Lindsay behind. Myers carrying Lori's unconscious, prone body away, and Brackett and Loomis arrive. And they get there, and Brackett finds his daughter bleeding out. Loomis is outside. Tommy and Lindsay run up to him, and then he finds the abandoned police cruiser. He tells the 2 kids to go stand by the ambulance. Lori wakes up, and she finds Linda's dead, naked corpse laying in front of the Judith Myers headstone. And here comes Mikey walking upstairs with his knife, and Lori's pleading for her life. He drops the knife, and then he presents her with that picture of them together that he killed Nurse Winover in the asylum all those years ago. And he's trying to show her that he's her brother.
A responsible, loving big brother that just missed her for all these years.
Right? He's like, I didn't know how to reach out, so I decided this was the best way to do it.
Yeah, and that he did the best he could.
Yep, it's
she's the problem,
right? I think this is a woman problem. She's just unwilling to accept his
brotherly affection,
and unconditional love.
Yeah,
he's like, look what I've done for you, and you're so unappreciative. I've had to kill everybody you know just to prove myself as your brother.
Yeah. He fought for his love.
Right. So he's trying to show her, and he unmasks and he kneels, and Lori's like, I just want to help you. And she sees his knife and reaches for it, manages to stab him. But she can't escape because the door's blocked off. She crawls out, and Michael pulls the knife out of himself, puts his mask back on, and goes after Lori, who narrowly escapes the cellar, only to fall in an empty swimming pool. You know, I know somebody that fell into an empty swimming pool and it turned him into one of the X-Men. So, I mean...
Ooh. Wait, which one's that? I can't even think right now.
I'm making a joke on one of the guys I stream with because
gotcha.
he literally he fell into a pool. Well, he's only got one of his eyes that works. So now the joke is we just call him Pop Cyclops, which I got to mail this to. I got to mail this to him. So yeah, we were driving
there.
Yeah, we were driving. We were down in Cincinnati, and we're going out to dinner at Horror Hound, and like all of us in the car are drunk. Adam's driving, he's sober, and he's driving, he's like switching lanes, and he like jerks to one lane, and I'm like, previously on X-Men, and we all start going da 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 in the back. That was fucking fun. He's like, gee, and then we get there and he parks on the curb. It was a fun night. So not a fun night for Lori as she's laying in this swimming pool, and she's laying there screaming for help, and Myers makes his way towards her. Loomis arrives and he pleads with Michael to stop, but he only shot him 3 times in this movie.
Not enough.
So he helps Lori up and they exit. And I said, why Loomis didn't put the other 3 rounds in his head at this point is beyond me. But he puts Lori.
Magic number is 6.
6. You got to shoot him 6 times. So he puts her in the police cruiser, gets in, and this is where she asks him, was that the boogeyman?
Oh, my gosh.
And Loomis says, I do believe that was. And just then Myers has something he wants to interject. So he busts through the window and just pulls fucking Lori right the fuck out the window.
Yeah, they have a thing with having Michael bust windows.
It's like they're trying to be like Jason Voorhees with doors. Yep. Michael is with windows.
Yeah.
But Jason already has the window market too, because he's thrown countless motherfuckers through windows. Like,
and the final scene in Friday 2, that was a window scene.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a handful of window scenes throughout the Friday the 13th franchise. I will say the way they execute it was that the boogeyman and the way he responded, it really, I don't like to use the word cringe a lot because I think it's like kind of overplayed, but I mean, it was that, you know what I mean? I just thought the way they execute, they didn't really, I mean, I get Tommy Doyle brought up the boogeyman a little bit, but this movie really wasn't about him being the boogeyman. It was just about, you know, the freight train, bullied kid, everything we talked about before. And it just felt
revenge plot.
Yeah, it just felt like, okay, we got to say this just add a little sprinkle to this is a remake to Halloween. It's just to remind you, this is technically a remake to Halloween.
And then, so we ended the movie, right?
We're almost there. We're almost at the end of the movie. So this is where Loomis trades places with Lori. And Michael starts to crush his skull. Lori runs and hides in the walls of the house. Michael's dragging Loomis along the floor as he's hunting for Lori. And then he sees the trench coat because Lori had the trench coat on. And he starts tearing the room apart. Lori grabs Loomis's gun. Michael hears her. And he starts ramming the 2x4 through the ceiling because she gets up in the fucking attic. Remember, he's just ramming that fucking stud up through the wall ceiling. Lori falls, and she's still got the 357. She's a fucking mess. She can barely stand up. Myers just charges her and knocks her off the fucking balcony. Just just fucking Goldberg speared her right out. They land. She lands on top of him, and here we'll end it. And this is the end for Michael right here. And then there's more screaming for like another fucking hour, I think. But yeah, she clicked it 3 times and it finally popped. And yeah, shot it right in the fucking dome.
I will say, like, rewatching it over this weekend, I completely forgot that's how it ended, that Michael football tackles her out the window. I remember like you said, the pool scene and all that stuff, but I completely forgot that's where we end off. And I was like, I laughed. I thought, I was like, that's so stupid.
Yeah.
And then okay, so then we have the end credits come, and during the end credits they're showing clips of his family, and I don't know, did you guys feel the same way? I felt like they were showing clips of a healthy normal family.
Yeah.
I was like, this doesn't fit.
No.
A little bit. I can't really remember. Maybe I was so like glad the movie was over that I didn't really pay attention. I think I went straight to my phone. I'm like, right after, I was like, all right, gotta decompress.
Yeah.
What am I gonna rate this movie on Letterboxd?
All right. So I said my overall, I said the movie has a fucking awesome cast. It had a great blend of newer faces and established genre stars. The gore scenes are definitely over the top. Rob Zombie fair, so I can't knock the kills because they were pretty well constructed. Just the kills, that's, you look at just a kill in itself, the effects that go into it. I said some of them, with notable exceptions, mirrored 1978, which was a nice homage, but that's where my praise stops, because the white trash, over the top, hyperly aggressive style of both Myers and the film as a whole is so ridiculous. It's on par with Resurrection tonally, and I like Resurrection. This one does it wrong. That one did it right. Yeah. So we usually rate things on a 1 to 5. I'd give this I got to give this one, I'd say a 2. I'd give this a 2 because the second one is so much worse. There's nowhere else for this one to go. That's the top I can go with this. Best, I feel like Pawn Stars, best I can do is a 2.
Yeah, I also go by the 5-star system. I don't know if you've used or heard of Letterboxd. I'm pretty obsessed with that app.
Okay.
Half a star it's like half a star, 1 star, 1.5, whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, I also rated it 2 stars as well. It's, there's some qualities that make it not, I guess, completely garbage. There's some redeemable factors, like the Michael Myers mask ain't bad, and
yeah,
I guess there's some good kill scenes, but yeah, I mean, like, it's so lackluster and it's disrespectful essentially to a lot of different elements, and it's like, it's just a bizarre movie. It's a bizarre movie in the franchise. That's what Rob Zombie came up with, and the rewatchability factor is extremely low.
Yeah,
I mean, atrociously low. I mean, after we're done talking about this, especially us, like, it's funny, you did a great job, like I said, painting the picture beat by beat. I'm remembering all the scenes in my head. I'm like, all right, I feel like I've watched the entire movie all over again. So I think I'm good. I think I'm good for a while now.
I took 16 pages of notes for that movie.
Wow. Like I said, I feel like I got the whole movie down.
Yeah, it was
just from that. So
yeah. Well, 2 out of 5. I'm Trina, what do you got?
Because it's supposed to be a Halloween remake, it's lower than I would rate it as if it was just a movie. I'm 1.5's the best I can do.
Okay,
that's completely fair.
Yeah,
completely fair.
All right, so we've got, okay, we're 2 hours and 19 minutes and we got through the first movie.